Welcome back to another video. Going to try some voiceovers, see how that goes. This time we have a vintage cast iron horse-drawn fire engine. Got it off eBay quite cheap in the 1920s to 1930s. And as always, let's get that paint off. I'll try and keep the talking to a minimum, but you will have to let me know in the comments whether you prefer more or less, etc. Okay, so Dremel to clean off after the paint's been stripped and I've left it dry. I don't go too hard because it is cast iron and I don't want to actually pit it or damage it. So even if there's a bit of paint left behind, if I smooth it off so it can't be seen once painted over, I am happy with that. Okay, the next step was to create the missing wheels, so I went into CAD, on shape specifically. Try and make this as quick as possible and with a time lapse of it being printed. If you want to see more or less of this, again, let me know in the comments. Once printed, I did batter them down a bit to make them look a bit more used and match with the cast iron ones from the actual timing. And we're back to prime time. Prime white all over everything. I use it to make sure the acrylic paint, it does stick anyway and you need a few coats, but you know, it's always best to prime to make sure it will last much longer. And after prime, it's paint. So straight in with a bright red, fire engine red to get this started. I just went over the whole thing and then I will detail it over the red paint in the future. It might take an extra coat or two, but it's definitely the easiest way of doing it. And anyway, more paint means more secure. The horses were brown. I did lighten the brown a bit to make it look less black. There were a few images on the internet of the originals. They were a mixture of colours, so I just went with the one that looked more like a horse brown. There is no detail allowed on it apart from the hoofs and the eyes, so I did it that way so that it contrasted better with the black. And now we can get to putting the black paint on the wheels in the hope that now they are all coloured the same. They should look reasonably similar. Bearing in mind the plastic ones at the top there were much lighter than the cast iron ones. Not loads of detail, but detail still is required. So the fireman's outfit was a sort of sky cyan blue, so I went over that. I did need to do, I think, 3 coats of that in total to make sure it got rid of the red in the background and it actually looked like one solid colour. And then gold accents for a lot of the bells and wheels that were on the unit. Again, from the historic photos, it was a bit more difficult to see the bell tower, how much that should have been gold and shouldn't have been. So I went with the genuine census, really. Over then to a skin tone for the hands and face. with the face, very, very simple face, eyes, nose and a mouth. And I am going to put a bit of hair because the original had the blue going back there, but I want to put some hair on it, so you'll see that shortly. Very minimal amount of detail on the horses. As I say, the hoofs themselves and then the stands off the hoofs and then a dot for the eye was all I could do. There was no other references to show that I should have done the reins or anything. There you can see the finished thing. Now dry. The face hand painted as it was originally. And with that we can get it assembled. Reasonably simple. The back axle goes back together. I had to grind out a dip on that to get them apart because it was a lot easier to paint, and then just hammered it back in. The new wheels I added there, all plastic, and then just super glued that axle solid so it locked it in. It took a while to get it perfectly level with the rest of the carriage so it ran straight, but it's fine. And then the horses there fit in on that pin and that back brace. I'm not sure what it was supposed to be. Painted it gold just for a bit of aesthetic. And there we go. Bit of a drive-by. Booth bite and some pictures now of the finished product, followed by a turntable. I will be getting a better turntable in the future, don't worry. If you've watched up to this point, thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, please click like. Any comments are welcome. As always, don't forget to subscribe. Take care. Goodbye.